Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be not so much an instructional. I'm going to intend it to be kind of like a guide on how to install this. We're doing a Cage kit install on this FK8 Civic Type R track car. Now, I don't know exactly how this kit goes together. I've heard great things about Cage kits as a company as a whole and their products. As far as I know, this car is very straight. My buddy's owned it basically since new, and no accidents, so hopefully everything goes in pretty smoothly. The only thing that I'm concerned about is I'm still pretty new to cages. I've only done a full 6-point cage myself in my personal drift car, and then I've done some roll bars. So this is a full 8-point cage. You know, it's got the A-pillars, the anti-intrusion bars, it's got a whole bunch of extra tubes, and there's no instructions on this kit. Now, everything is more or less laser etched or engraved with a marking of some sort to kind of guide you, but there's no outright instructions that I can find, at least. So I'm gonna hopefully make this video as a guide for anybody else looking to do this in the same chassis. So let's go over the kit really quick and we'll just kind of get started, and we'll work our way through this. So here is the kit. I have yet to take it off the pallet yet. We got this box here, which has obviously all of our base plates, and I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to check the part. I don't know if any of these are labeled. Okay, so these are labeled. You can see the etching right there. So they do give you a parts list here with everything. So that's about as much of an instruction manual as you'll get. Just make sure all your pieces are there. And then I do know that these are going to be the front hoop, like the main, I'm sorry, not the main hoop, the A-pillar bars. This is what this goes to. I think these ones were for the main hoop mating area, because these ones go right in the door area here, because I found that out. It goes something along the lines of that. So we will have to cut these clips and move the harness a little bit out of the way, but that goes there. The parts that I hadn't figured out yet was the anti-intrusion bars, which I can only imagine are this, because this shapes with the footwell. So everything seems to line up. I did kind of mock in some of these plates before he dropped the car off when we were out here gutting everything. Now, obviously you do have to get everything taken care of. So we have this gutted already. These are, plates that we put in for ballasts so we could add weights. I do have to take the seats out, and we will have to remove the dashboard. As I figure that out, I will show you guys, but overall I don't believe it's too hard on this chassis. But yeah, carpet and everything is out. So obviously if you're getting to the point of doing a Cage kits install, I'd imagine your car is looking pretty similar. So in this case, being a sedan, it's going to be pretty easy to get to some of these welds, like the main hoop and the door bars and such. The only ones I'm concerned about is there is a lot of tubes in this kit, a lot of these little extra guys. So I just got to be able to make sure that I can figure out the order of operations to be able to drop the cage appropriately, to be able to get the welds on all the top joints, because this is a SCCA NASA spec cage, and this gentleman does do time trial and GTA, so it's got to be fully welded out. We're just going to be MIG welding it because it is just DOM. We're not going to go crazy taking it because it's already expensive enough, so I don't want to spend way too much time and rack his bill up for him, because it is a buddy of mine, and we'll get this all taken care of. So let's begin. Let's I honestly don't have instructions for this, like I said. So as I piece this together and figure it out as we're going, I will let you guys know what I find. Those seats are out now. Pretty simple. Just get a T50 socket and take out the 4 bolts in each corner. Then you got your plugs underneath. These two are just normal pinchy clips, like small but there. And then this yellow one, I believe, is the SRS system, and this one you just pull back like that and it releases. So now gonna start taking the dashboard out. I got the center console basically ready to come out. I got these last 2 screws right here. But to get to this point, the kick panel just pries off. You got an electrical connection there, and I believe a third one somewhere. And then you got some Phillips head screws on the side over here, this style. And then you have these 2 up front here that's kind of riveted to the Type R badge right here. So you pull those out. And then for these side sail panel looking things right here, these are just clipped in. So just pry around, they'll come out. Same with the climate control unit. And then there is a connection on the back. You have these 2 right here. That took me a little bit of time to figure out, but it's all just kind of clipped in. So now, like I said, I'll pull these out and the rest of this should come out. There is quite a bit to remove to get access to these screws. So once your A-pillars are off, there's a screw back there and one on the other side over there. I believe there's the 2 center screws back here once you get the screen out. And then this piece right here, this pries up. Just use your trim removal tools. This is the whole vent setup. It came out pretty easy. And then this is the top piece that goes up here. This is also just clips, made it easier on myself. I started on the side, pried gently up, and then it kind of pulls forward. This piece was a little bit trickier. Again, just pry points here on the sides. With this out of the way, you'll have 2 screws, one there and there. And then this piece right here, which is this guy, that just unclips, as well as this guy that'll sit up here in the corner. Just unclip those with your trim tool. Pop this out, your start button with the trim tool, and that I'm just letting that dangle. And then here, you know, we can take this off. Your hazard button is wired in back there, so unplug the hazard, and then this will get removed. And then I believe there's probably a connector on this guy right here for the, I'd imagine that's GPS signal for the speedo. But with that, there's going to be another bolt over here, and then there was one right here, and I believe there's one somewhere under right here. So once I find those, I'll point those out, and then the dash is hopefully about ready to come out. I think we have to lower the steering column as well. Forgot to mention the side panels right here. These just clip on as well, both sides. So again, be gentle. Instrument cluster is out. That was after this panel was removed. There was a few screws. So this is, I'd imagine, the GPS module for the car, for your speedometer. So I unscrewed this from the top of the cluster, just hanging it out of the way at the moment because it routes in through here. So you'll have the 3 screws for the cluster, one there, and one right there. Pull that out. You have 2 connectors right here into the back of it. And you can see we have a bolt right there. So take that guy out next. And then with that, we also have access to that bolt right there. Next was this. There's a whole bunch of screws holding the lower glove box section on. So to get the glove box out, you open it, press the sides in, it'll unclip from around here, and then it just unhooks off of these 2. You got all the screws up along here, and then 2 more down here and down there. And I believe that was all of them. So that can go in the pile back there. And now we have access to this last screw right there and the ground. I think we're about ready now. I did find a 12 mil bolt holding it up from the airbag assembly right here. So 12 mil on this bracket right there. And you can see this is what it was attached to. And then this harness, with the access up here, I just took a small flat blade screwdriver, was able to manage to save the clips on this harness. So that's all out of the way. I believe we just got to drop the steering column, which should just be a couple of 12 or 14 mil. Dash came out this far, and then this harness was attached right here. So just unclip that, and now we're ready to just lift it out. I lied. The harness is still attached right here as well. So unhook that one, and it should fall out. Even after all that, there was still one more harness that attached to the backside trim, and it was this guy right here. So this hooks on, and then it's just tucked into the back part of the dash. So you kind of have to pull it most of the way out to get that. But okay, so I took a break from prepping the inside because I still got to pull the rest of the dash components out because this is actually full race car cage. I knew that, but my brain didn't click from the last clip. I mentioned maybe keeping some of the stuff, but no, that's all going to come out because of the dash bars. So I just did the checklist, ran through it, made sure everything was here. So I have it split down the middle. Obviously the main hoop. This is all driver side components. This is like diagonal bar, harness bar, gusset, X, down bar. This is A pillar. These are door bars here. This is lower door bar. This is, I forget what that one is. That's gusset, intrusion bars, dash bar, headache bar, and then mirrored over here. So, and then this is, no, these are FIA bars, and this is roof bar. So everything is here and accounted for. So I'm gonna go ahead, test fit the main hooping, because I just gotta figure out where to locate the rear base plates at. I think I've kind of traced it down looking at their pictures of the CAD photo to somewhere in this realm. So you can see I kind of have it mocked up right here, but I don't know for certain. So I'm gonna go ahead, like I said, tuck in the main hoop and see where the down bar falls. Started locating the base plates. I got the rears tacked in there and there, and I just tacked these in where I believe they belong because I stood the main hoop in and I got the one leg down. I tried setting them both up, but without an extra set of hands, it's, you know, pretty difficult to do by yourself. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna go ahead and position the main hoop again like I had before, and then I'm gonna bring this leg, because this one was easier for me to fit, and I'm gonna tack it in place to the main hoop, and then I will shift this main hoop side to allow me to do that. It's just, I tried taping it, but it wasn't holding because the pipes are pretty heavy, so we'll do that. And then from there, I gotta finish taking all that stuff apart so I can start fitting the A-pillars. All right, I got all that harness out, and I'm just gonna be truthful, this shit sucks. It's so tangled up in here, but you know, I'm making it work. Unfortunately, I thought we were just gonna be able to remake the steering column with these 2 bolts, but I realize now that this bracket attaches up here with these 2, so we're gonna have to make, you know, all new mounting points, which shouldn't be too bad, but I haven't done that yet, so that'll be a bit of a learning process. But otherwise, all the harness, I believe, is out of the way, so now I just gotta try and figure out the rest of the bolts holding this thing in. Actually, it looks like the throttle is also attached to the dash bar, so yeah, this may be a lot more custom than I think that's a brace. I don't know, we'll figure that out. But yeah, this may have to add a lot more custom stuff than we thought. I got the blower assembly out over there, and this stuff I'm just working on chipping away. So honestly, I don't really have any tips. I'm just kind of pulling stuff apart and just hoping for the best. I'm trying to get the last part of the dash bar out. I've got everything else disconnected, main harness out like I showed you. There's 2 bolts here and here, and I've traced them back way up into the cowl, so you can see them right there. So we're gonna have to take the wiper assembly out to get those 2 12 mils, and then the dash bar should come out. So that came out really easy with just these 3 10 mils and disconnecting the electrical connector to it. You just kind of had to twist it around and angle it. So you can see we got the 2 bolts here, and I did find 1 more right there. All right, so those last 3 bolts were indeed the last 3. The dash bar is now out, and we're looking pretty vacant in here. So the heater box assembly, or the evap core, all that stuff, I think is about ready to come out. I see another bolt right here in the corner. And then other than that, I got everything disconnected from it. I don't even know why I had to unplug that. I didn't need to. But the other thing that I know that I have to do is I have to loop the heater core lines that are on the engine bay side, because we are deleting that, obviously. So it'll be these 2 lines right here. You can go to O'Reilly's, try and find a parts bin hose that's just a U shape. That's, I already measured it, it's 2 inches across, so try and figure that part out. But now with this stuff, you know, out, I can start trying to test fit the A-pillar bars to come over and, you know, down, and that'll help me locate the boxes. So I'll worry about this here in a little bit, but in the meantime, I want to test fit an A-pillar bar. Test fit went, you know, very nicely. You can see it fits in there perfect. So the only thing that I do have to adjust is the main hoop is leaning back a little bit more than I'd like it to, but this is still fitting great. So when I shift the back of, or the bottom of the main hoop that way, it's going to bring the top up that way a little bit, which will bring the rear legs up just a little bit on their plates, which is what they need to do anyway. And then it should tuck up right here just a little bit more. And it's already a good fit, so it's gonna be super snug when it's already in position. And you can see over there, it tucks in right where that little dowel is, which is perfect. So basically just this one on the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and test fit this side now. I'm sure it'll fit just as. Okay, so we got quite a few tubes in now. Definitely helps to have a second set of hands, because these tubes do like to fall all over the place. So A-pillars, like I mentioned before, fit in nicely. Got everything tacked into place, as you can see, just single tacks and all easy access points. Headache bar is in, front 2 gussets are in, these corner gussets are in. Again, waiting on the hose to delete the heater box to finish doing the dash bar. Just trying to get the planning out for the rest of it now. You can see it's lining up pretty well down here on each side. Basically dead nut center on each one. The rear legs are not tacked in the back, since we're gonna have to be pulling the cage forward and down to drop it anyway. And we're just discussing that these legs don't really have too much of a home so long as this tube still fits. This is the one that goes from this corner to this corner. I'm getting ready to put in some door bars to start testing those. Still trying to figure out the intrusion bars. These plates really just don't have a good, comfortable home. The tube fits up perfectly, but the plate kind of interferes with it, honestly. So I think what we're gonna have to do with the plates is just kind of muscle them around, hammer some stuff, and just kind of make it fit. No matter what you do, it seems like there's going to be a bit of a gap from the connection point there to there, which, you know, it's not bad enough to where you can't fill it, but it's just weird, because I spent like an hour yesterday trying to figure out where that thing goes. But regardless, you know, whatever. As for the lower door bar, I believe that these tubes are going to be in coming along here. You can see the lower mark there. So these are your lower seatbelt mounting points. You can see the 3 spot welds right there that I grinded off, and there's 3 more right here. All I did was took a band file. You can use a spot weld drill bit, but just band file it and then pull these off. Toss them away. Won't need them, they'll be in the way. Got the heater hoses off. I did discover there's another bolt hidden way down in there, this 12 mil right here. So you got to pull that 12 mil out, and then the rest of the heater assembly will come out. Forgot to also mention the AC lines. It's a 10 mil bolt tucked way back into here, right there. So I just used a long extension with a 10 mil and just pulled it out. So take the bolt out, and now the heater box should finally come free, because it was getting hung up on that last. So moved on to try and start tacking in some of the intrusion stuff. So this is the only part of the kit that hasn't fit very well. No matter where I position these plates, it just was, you know, not very good, not very flat. I tried unbending them, hammering the floor a little bit. I got it as good as I could, so I'm gonna go ahead and just hammer the wheel well up a little bit to mate it. This one, you can see I got these. This one's tacked and that one's resting. So I do have to pull the main hoop back. I'll have to strap it together, because I did test fit the door bar on this side. It's a little loose, so I'll have to strap these together, whichever one has to do what. I think that has to come forward just a tiny bit, which would make sense because of where the rear leg is resting right now. It's a little on the low side for what I like. So pulling that will let that go higher. The door bar on that side is looking fantastic. That's just resting in there right now. But the issue that we ran into is I don't think that said on the website, at least when I checked, you know, a few times during this process, but you can see it's a little intrusive. So we are going to have to skin the door. So we're touching already, and we still have that much more of the door to shut. So got the passenger door all tacked in, all the you know, the lower FIA piece / gusset, lower door bar, gusset, middle door bar, upper door bar, and I had to ratchet strap it together like I had mentioned. So now we got tight fitment here. That side, you know, that's fine. The only part that I'm a little off on is right here. For whatever reason, I don't have a whole lot of room to work with, so I may try. It's almost like the main hoop needs to be leaned forward a little bit, but everything else lines up great, so I don't know that that's the issue. So I think what I'm going to try and do is maybe I will tack the gap here, because you're in, you know, they want you to weld up here. That's, you know, why they're contacting. So I think I may put a good fat tack on each side of that, and then I may try and bend this up to where it's supposed to be, because I'm not too sure. I can get it a little higher without having a bunch of gaps, so I may try that. But, you know, that's worst case scenario. It's, if it has to stay like that, it has to stay like that. I know, you know, not everything is going to be perfect in a scenario like this. Now, I still have to do the driver's side. I would just, you know, the passenger side seemed to be fitting a little bit better. So I think what I'm going to do is I do have another ratchet strap, so I'm going to go ahead and try and tack in the other tubes on this side and strap it together so that way things aren't uneven, and then we should be cooking pretty good with that. So I just want to address really quick, you can actually shut the doors with this one. You don't actually have to cut it. You do have to slam them a bit, and it will dent into the door a little bit, but overall it does shut. So you can see it's obviously rubbing, but it's not gonna break anything. And depending on how it looks later, I might just try and dent the metal a little bit if I can. If I can't, it's not a big deal. I did go and get my upgraded welder this morning. Just bought that brand new Ironman or Hobart Ironman 240. So I'm gonna go ahead. I just got it set up for some settings I like for doing the MIG stuff on this type of material. I'm gonna go ahead and get these put in really quick. Well, really quick. And like I said, this side has to be massaged just like that side did. And then after that, I think I'm pretty much ready to, you know, start going to town on welding what I can. I think I mentioned before that this side was a little off. Turns out I just had the lower bars tacked a little too low, so I broke all the tacks, strapped it back together to pull it up to its marks, and now everything fits beautifully. Because I noticed it almost looked like I was missing a tube because I was down far enough that it made a huge difference. So I looked at that side and realized why that side fit so much more better, like gap wise down there, and this one was like touching the plate. Yeah, I had it a little too low, so that's corrected. I can go ahead, tack these back in, and then we'll be okay. So the time has come to where it is ready to start welding out. I got everything situated. The only things that I'm doing now
is, to be honest, I don't 100% know how much of a difference it makes, but the rule book states that every weld has to be done 360, so I'd imagine that means connecting joints like this for the intrusion bar like this. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it out. I'm gonna weld the inside joint there and then, you know, clean this up a bit to fit around it. And then the same thing goes for the door bar right here. So I'm gonna have to break these door bars out or just do whatever I can to just get this up so I can weld under it. So I'm probably just gonna end up taking all the door bars out really quick to weld this lower one and then put them back together. Same with that one. And then same in the upper corner, leave those ones as is. And then whenever I go to put the diagonal bar through, just trim it to fit around the weld, just to make sure that we have no issues later on with any sort of inspection, or if he goes to get this cage certified or anything, it should pass just fine. Giving you guys a quick update. I got everything welded that I can access except for the rear down bars right now, but as you can see, everything's welded out up here. I do have to figure out this last little bit right down here, but I think I should be able to get that once I strap it in and pull it. I might be able to access this, but I'd rather just wait till I drop it to keep it looking good, because the rest of it's looking pretty good on its own. That spot got a little funky looking because I like kind of slipped when I was kneeling. But the rest of it's looking pretty great. So I'm loving this new welder. So the only things that I did just weld the intrusion bars like that before I put them in. I'm still kind of confused on how to weld those all the way out, but hopefully we'll figure that out here shortly. Got the cage dropped, got everything welded what I could to the point of dropping, and then I realized I did the order of operations incorrect. So hopefully you guys, if you're doing this, if you already are in the process, hopefully you haven't gotten this far yet. If you're watching this beforehand, heed the warning. Do not put these front gussets in place yet, because you're gonna lose your access to weld up here. Now, because I did that and I messed that order of operations up, now I have to trim this out here, the seat mount area. I have to notch a section of that to drop the cage a little bit lower because we're stuck on that. And then the same thing with the rear down bars. I wasn't too sure because we have to have the cage dropped to weld these out, but I believe in order to pull the cage back far enough, because I can't seem to pull in the fronts enough up here to weld the outside edges of the door bars. So I'd imagine the more correct way to do it would be to leave the down bars off till the end and then put the cage back up in its position, mock up your rear downs, and then from there, you know, pull it back off the perch again, finish welding them out, throw in your crossbar when you're done, and that should be fine. So now I gotta cut these out. I didn't weld them all the way around. Like you can see, I still got this whole half of the weld. So thankfully it's not gonna be the worst thing in the world, but I do have to get around up here. So it sucks, but you know, that's kind of what we got to do. And I'm not trying to take any chances if this cage ever does get certified. Like I mentioned before, I even recut out the door bars and stuff to make sure I got the welds on each overlapping joint up there, and these two down here. So we're just trying to play it safe. So again, make sure you're paying attention. I thought I was paying enough attention, but you know, a lot of tubes. So again, corner gussets, leave them out till the end. Till after you weld the headache bar in, I should say, because they're very easy to access otherwise. Okay, so got the cage dropped down. You can see I notched the floor out there, and obviously on the other side as well. For anybody that may say, why didn't I cut these tubes out? The reason I didn't is because I got the weld pretty high up there on this gusset without dropping the cage. So getting it cut out would have been a lot harder. So thankfully this wasn't too bad to cut it out. Like I said, I got the rears cut off and cleaned up. So now I can find the accesses to weld joints. I'm gonna go ahead and knock those out, knock out the rest of the top welds now that we have plenty of space. And then once those are done, I will show you guys us scooting the cage all the way back to see how much room we can make to weld these front door bar attachment points. Got everything welded out, about to throw it up on the back perch now. You can see there's plenty of room up top now to get the welding torch up there. So even if you don't trim the floor out like I did, I believe you can rock it back enough, because I'm probably a quarter inch down over there, because this one, since I have the front pulled in, it's sitting on top of the seat mount still. So you should have plenty of room just rocking it back like this to get the top. So with all this welded out, you know, we're good. Try and kick it back up here. I did clean off some more seam sealer and hammered the floor down a little bit to see if that'll help us scoot this back. So it helped us get it back up with hammering it down when I had to do so to trim out the floors. So hopefully with the seam sealer gone, it'll help us scoot it back far enough to get those front welds. So the last welds we had to get was down here, and this is kind of what we got. The front strapped up really tight. Have a buddy hanging onto the back of the cage to lift it up unless you can prop it with something. And then by it sitting back on the shelves, we were able to get all the weld over here, although not pretty, but all of it. And so now this thing's fully welded out minus the down bars. So now basically what we do, put it back up on the shelf, relocate the rear down bars, and then tack those in place, weld what we can, and then drop it back down again, finish welding those out, and then intrusion bars and base plates, and then the 8 points of contact to the body, and it's done. Okay, so now we got everything else welded. I'm gonna go ahead, put the down bars back in. I got the cage back in position. I've got the rear plates not tacked in, just held in. We did remove the roof pieces, and that made it so much easier to lift this up that 1/8 inch to get those plates under. So we're pretty well orientated. Dash bar is located, just not tacked in yet. Again, I'm saving that for probably one of the last pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead, locate these rear down bars, and then because I am waiting on my buddy that owns the car to paint, you can see he laid some primer yesterday. He's going to get the paint today, so unfortunately all I can do in the short term is downs and weld in the base plates. I do have to call Cage Kits because they did finally respond to the email we sent them about the intrusion bars and like placement. So I will call them, verify that, and I'll let you guys know what they say. So Cage Kits, I believe his name is Devin, one of the sales advisors down there. He gave me a ring back because I reached out to them just to get some tricks and tips type thing. And good news is he kind of gave me some pointers, more of which what I've already figured out. But the bad news is I messed up the order of operations. So realistically, the way they're saying is to do the intrusion bars with the boxes not welded in type thing. And then, you know, ideally you should be able to access them when you stretch it in. But I don't know what to do about the rear bars because those are already welded to the cage. So what I've done now is, because I don't have the connection points to the chassis welded up, I'm gonna go ahead, I've already got the ratchet strap in place, and I'm gonna pull these in the best I can. I've already got these tacked, and I can already tell I'm gonna be able to get, I think, a really good chunk of this weld. I was concerned that I wasn't gonna get hardly any before, but you know, it's gonna be tight, but we're gonna try and pull this in. My best advice for the order of operations, which I will reiterate the order of operations that I believe would be best at the very end of the video, but to get more stretch out of the front here, I should have left these out because this limits me because the tops can't bow in now, but you know, we'll figure it out. So I'm pretty sure I was able to get fully welded around on each side. So the only issue I ran into is now I got to stretch it apart because you can see it pulled away from warpage. So right now I'm trying to fit in the rear diagonal bar. I had to strap it across like this because it didn't want to line up, but we're looking pretty good now. So go ahead, smack that a little bit closer that way. Got this bar in. The issue I had, like I showed you guys, is those pulled away. Ended up having to go to Harbor Freight and pick up this hand pump, this 4-ton one. This is a Pittsburgh one. This is about $180 after tax. And I was able to spread it enough. I'm still not totally happy with the fitment, but I kind of grinded the welds a little bit to try and help it flex. But I got it tacked up, and it's enough of a gap that I can fill at least. It's not like, you know, stepping over the moon or nothing. So this thing definitely comes in handy. Wish I would have had this to spread this apart to make this a little bit easier, but yeah, I think the issue is I should have tacked these to the base plates and welded this before, because even though I welded the outside welds first, pretty sure it just was more heat on this side because I had more time to focus on the weld instead of blind welding the backside. So the heat just pulled it, and then that mixed with stretching the cage or whatever, sucking it in. But it's all done, it's all tacked up, so I can go ahead, I can finalize those welds, and then go ahead and do the rear base plates as well as the rear diagonal and finish it up with the 2 down bars. Okay, I got everything welded in but the dash bar and the harness bar. I didn't want to weld the harness bar in just yet in case I had to make adjustments. Granted, it's, you know, marked where it's supposed to go, but my customer is really tall. So I got the seat mocked up in here, loosely fit, roughly where I think he's gonna have it. And so I just got some tape here, got my digital angle finder. I already have it set to 0 off of this. So we come over here and we just kind of set it on there lightly. So we're somewhere in the 10 to 12-ish degree range. So you're supposed to have it within 20 degrees of angle from that, you know, just for regulation standards for the harness. So that's perfect. So I can go ahead and finish welding the harness bars out and do the dash bar, and then we're all done with the cage work, other than the dash mounts and stuff. With tube work, it'll be done. Cage is finally fully welded in, even down to the A-pillars. We got some stitches up here on the A-pillars on both sides. So yeah, tomorrow we'll knock this dash out. Whatever I can figure out, obviously I'll be sure to share with you guys for this video before we, you know, can finally wrap it up. If any of you guys are planning to keep the dash, let me kind of show you what I'm doing. I'm not done yet, but I'm starting to work through it. I kind of basically just kind of went to town, honestly, with the sides. You have to take off quite a bit to get past the FIA bars and such. So I probably could have cleaned it up a little bit more to keep more of this, but honestly, like it was really tight fit, and I'm just, you know, I'm not very good at trimming dashes, so we're kind of taking it at face value, honestly. So something else I've done is I've mounted in the center console to help. I've also cut off this bracket as well as the dash, center dash bracket. This one's just kind of floating. But what I've done is you can kind of see by going through the top here. So you can see I've welded flat stock to the tops of these where I cut them off. And then I'm gonna just use like the flat strap stuff. I'm using 1/8 inch by 1 inch. And then I'm just gonna tie it in to the dash bar like that. So I'm just cutting the pieces off that I can use to help support everything. And then yeah, I'm just using this 1/8 inch flat strap, and we're just gonna MIG weld it to the dash bar. And yeah, I've got the ratchet strap here to help pull the dash because there's so little plastic behind it. You know, it's just so flexible. It doesn't want to hang itself up there. Unfortunately, I did have to trim a little bit out of the center or the instrument cluster area. So I'm hoping that doesn't interfere later. If it is, we'll just if it does, we'll have to space the cluster out a little bit, but it should fit just fine. Other than that, I don't really have to put anything else in the way yet. I just gotta, now that this is all taut, I can make the flat strap go over there. But once I get the rest of this mounted, we can move on to the steering column. So I've got the dash mounts welded in for the factory pieces that I was talking about. So for the sides, it was still super floppy because the attachment points are missing. So what I did is there was a tab here. You can see it, I just drilled through it with the 3/16 drill bit and then made some flat strap to attach. I gotta finish welding that, but just tapped it, and I'm doing the same thing on the other side. So this is what I'm doing. So the thread pitch on the factory dash bolts, all these little guys, is I think it's M5 by 0.7. So this is gonna be for the driver's side over here, and it's just gonna go basically right behind this tab over here. So I drilled a hole right here, and then it's gonna go basically on the bottom side, but just for visual sake, bottom side, attach it, and then that'll pretty much be that. So I'll give it a little bit of a bend at the top here just to make it flow a little bit nicer, but that's gonna complete the dash mounts, and then we can move on to the column. Okay, just about to wrap the video up here soon. So steering column, I made some brackets earlier that I wasn't too happy with. So thankfully my buddy Jeff came by and he was kind of eyeballing it with me, and he was able to figure out that the factory brace fits pretty close. So all we had to do was just adapt it. So took some you know, more flat strap, just bent it up to make it strong, welded it, stitched it, welded it, bolted back with the firewall, because the brackets I made earlier were similar to this, just going down to those, but then everything was kind of flexing, and now this is like rigid. So yeah, triangulated to the firewall. Gonna have to kind of mess with it a little bit. Just did some trimming, and this works good. So if you have to keep the factory dash like we do, try using that as a solution. Down here, just swap to some 2-inch by 3/16 flat strap, or 1.5 by 3/16, and then to space it down, the factory setup is like a 1-inch spacer. I just used some calipers to measure it on the factory setup, and yeah, just did a weld nut, or a bolt welded into it with some washers to cap it, and then obviously you can use it like a weld nut. So the only other thing I'm going to change, or I'll add on here, is I'm going to just tie in some more flat strap just here to here, and then same on the other side there to that one, and that will make everything super rigid. Then the only other thing that I'm going to do personally before I wrap this all up, the video, is I will triangulate this down here a little bit so it's not so, you know, vibrating, and then same with the far one over here. The center support, it's all really rigid since it ties into the floor down there with that bracket. And then after that, it's just a matter of reassembling the car, so you guys won't need to see that. So I will finish this stuff up and I'll give you guys that last update and we can wrap this all up. Okay, well, it's basically, you know, time to wrap it up. Let me show you the final product. So I did just get everything kind of plugged in. I'm starting to route the harness just for reassembly. Not that you guys need to see all that, but basically, I told you we did that. So for the brake pedal reinforcement, I just used some thick plate, just drilled it, welded it, that's good. And yeah, so the steering column is all braced up. Brake pedal is reinforced, dash is all mounted up, good to go. Cage is all welded out. So that basically means we're wrapped up. So I hope you guys did find this video even slightly helpful, informational, useful, or entertaining. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you want to stick around and subscribe. I will put up on the screen here basically the best order of operations, just to recap. So basically, get cage put out, you know, get everything figured out, which pieces are which, cleaned up. And then, you know, general rule of operations, if you're somebody newer to cages like me, or whether you're just trying to figure it out, you know, get the whole system tacked together in the car, just, you know, 1 or 2 tacks a piece that you can easily access. And then I believe that the order of operations to make life a little bit easier would have been leave the rear down bars out, as well as the rear diagonal, get the main structure without the diagonal bar or the harness bar put in, use the dash bar to locate the front A-pillar bars, tack in the intrusion bars where they're supposed to go, get all the plates situated, and then I would leave the front gussets out, get the headache bar all done, taken care of. Once you have everything done, then you can go ahead, weld what you can, drop the cage off the boxes, break it forward, ratchet strap it, do what you need to do, and then weld the tops, put the front gussets back in, and then do the intrusion bars, the one weld joint out of the vehicle, and then kind of touch it up, put it all back together, and then locate the rear down bars, pull it forward again, and then strap the cage in again after it's down to do the front of the intrusion bars. And then the plates, again, I couldn't figure out how to weld all the way around. We're a solid like 90%, but you know, if you guys have any other tips for me, let me know in the comments down below. But anyways, guys, do what you love, to with the rest. Thanks for spending some time out of your day here with me. We'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.